Well, Josh, it's 6:01. Want to get going? All right.
Let's
Well,
go.
thanks everybody for again coming to the Jefferson East community meeting today, August 18th. This is our third quarter meeting. We've got one more for the year, but let's get started. So I'm Sabrina Underwood. I am the Senior Marketing Communications and Engagement Events Manager. Sorry, I do engagement. And I'm your maestro for the day. So how to participate? You'll see at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the Q&A boxes. So you can, put your questions in the Q&A box during the presentation, or you can raise your hand during the Q&A section, and we'll get your questions answered there. This webinar is actually being recorded, and it'll be posted to YouTube and on our Facebook, and links through our Instagram channels, all of our social media, as well as our LinkedIn as well. So on our last meeting, we went over JEI team updates. Our CEO, Josh Elling, provided project updates. Mr. Brian Hertian of Christian Hertian Architect provided a really great presentation on development that he's over in the Marina District. We had Q&A and announcements from the organization. Tonight, we have a great lineup for you. We're going to bring back Miss Nya Marshall, owner of Ivy Kitchen and Cocktails, and also the proprietor and owner of the very new restaurant Antidote Detroit that's opening up in Jeff Chalmers. We're going to also have more team updates for you, and Josh is going to provide project updates as well. And Miss Andrea Taverna, with the City of Detroit is here to speak with you about the proposed Zone Detroit project as well. It's very important. We're going to have Q&A and announcements too. So I am going to hand it over to Josh.
Thank you, Sabrina, and thank you everyone for joining us on this beautiful, beautiful August evening that's free of wildfire smoke. So thank you for spending the afternoon inside with us. So we'll try to go quick here today. A lot of great stuff to report. First off, just a reminder, Jefferson East for more than 30 years has been serving the East Jefferson corridor, of course, founded in the Jefferson Chalmers Business District, but we provide services up and down the East Jefferson corridor through 5 great neighborhoods. And so we're very proud of our impact. Also, a lot of our services now have been actually impact the city as a whole, including our home repair and small business work. So thank you to everyone who stuck with us over the years as we've grown and continue to improve the lives of our residents. Anyway, very excited today to be joined by one of my favorite people in the world, Miss Nya Marshall. Miss Marshall is the owner of Ivy Kitchen, but she has an update on her new restaurant there at 14628 East Jefferson in the heart of the historic Jefferson Chalmers Business District. So, Miss Marshall, do you want to take it away to give folks a little update on Antidote Detroit?
Sure. Thank you so much, Josh and Sabrina. Thank you so much for those kind words. I do appreciate it. Just to provide an update, the restaurant is called Antidote. I'm sure you guys have probably rolled past and seen the sign or walked past during your daily strolls and seen the sign and probably peeked through the window to see the status that we have. All the furnishings are in, the kitchen is complete. Most of the licensing is complete. So we are nearly ready to go. So where we are today is we have most of our approvals from the city and the state. We're just waiting on our final inspection from the fire department, and we will be granted our legal status to open at that point. Our anticipated official opening date will be September 8th. Our business hours are we're planning to be closed on Monday, open Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 4 p.m. to midnight, and then Saturday and Sunday from 11 a.m. to midnight. Those are our current tentative hours. We're going to be playing it by ear to see what works, what doesn't work, and we'll be making changes accordingly to the business needs. And you can view those changes on our social channels. We are Antidote_Detroit on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram, and on TikTok. We're on TikTok as well. So you might be asking about our cuisine. we are New American with a Spanish influence, so we will have a myriad of dishes for you. We have some pretty exciting things. And like I said during my last conversation, I think there were 2 or 3 community members that reached out and wanted to be invited to one of the tastings, and they are on the list to actually attend the tastings, which has began, but will continue throughout the next weeks until we open. We've made several improvements into the space, into the decor. We've modified the hood systems. We've added flooring. We've changed the bathrooms. So the old Norma G's is still there, but it's just Antidote today. And we've made some great changes, and we're hopeful that you will be excited with us as we are excited as well.
All right.
We have done a lot of the hiring. So far, we have 22 staffers that we've hired on board to support the systems and the restaurants and our needs. Currently, 6 or 7 of them, I think it's 7, but I know it's at least 6, are coming from the Jefferson Chalmers neighborhood, the 215 community. A big bulk of them, 8 or 9, came from the 214, which is our neighboring area, which is actually where I live. So most of them are coming from the east side. And then there is some duality in the employment. I think we have 2 people that actually work at Ivy that are going to be supporting both Ivy and Antidote. And then we have our own official Antidote staffing as well. I hope you've seen the sign that we have out. I was really, really excited and proud of that sign when it went out. We have a lot of footage of that. So please stay abreast of our social channels because all of that information is on there and the photos as well. Let me think. Anything else exciting that you would like to know? Oh, so we are scheduled for a few press junkets. So we are scheduled for Fox 2 and Channel 4 on September 1st, and you'll be able to find out more about that on our social channels as well. So we'll be highlighting not only Antidote, but our community as well. Again, I'm an East Sider, and I believe that all things East Side should be amplified and told to the world, actually. So we're actually seeking some national press. Our goal and our hope, we think we're going to be in Food and Wine by the end of September, actually, and I'll keep you abreast of that as well. So we have some really good, exciting things. Actually, our chef, she's an East Sider. She's across the border on the Grosse Pointe side, but she's Grosse Chef Kirby Rocha. She is wonderful. She does amazing things. Our director of beverage director and general manager, his name is John Neely. He's actually from the 214. So he lives in the 214 still, and he's excited, and he's coming back to the community, his own stomping grounds. So we have, again, some exciting information for you, exciting material for you. Any questions?
We'll do Q&A at the end, but if any folks
Okay.
have any questions for Nya, if you want to put them in the chat, we'll work to keep people updated on those opening dates as well. But of course, be sure to follow Antidote on the socials and stay tight into that. I am just so thrilled, Nya, and thank you so much for sticking with it. I know the saga we went through on the liquor license goofiness.
Yeah.
Folks, sometimes we'll go through that, but just great. Thanks for sticking with it. Another great restaurant coming to the Jefferson Chalmers neighborhood. And so we're just so thrilled to have you. And thank you for just employing our friends and neighbors that live in Jefferson Chalmers and all the surrounding communities. We just really, really appreciate that as well, too. And of course, don't forget, folks, if you got a hankering for some of the great food that Nya and her team prepare, head on down East Jefferson to 9215 East Jefferson, where Ivy Kitchen and Cocktail continues to serve great food. So we're just so thrilled to have Miss Marshall's budding restaurant empire spreading down the East Jefferson corridor. So Nya, thank you so very much, and we'll work to
Thank you so much, Josh.
keep folks abreast of things. Um, Now moving on, just a couple big things. I think last time we're going to go from great news to sort of some more challenging news on how we continue to navigate some of the seismic changes that are happening in Washington, D.C. The good news is most of our federal grants, which experienced some pause, have sort of started flowing again. So we haven't seen any direct impact on direct funding through these different grants. A few grants were sort of paused, like our HUD counseling grant that caused some funds to go back to the state. We've been able to backfill those through private philanthropy. So we're going to be able to continue to provide the HUD counseling and fill those positions. Our other grants in partnership with the University of Michigan from the National Science Foundation, those funds that continue to flow. Our Wayne County FEMA Disaster Preparation Grant, there was a question mark on that. That has been approved, and so we'll be able to start doing our neighborhood disaster planning here over the next several months. Now, we did not come out unscathed. There were two programs which we benefit from that were cut by the federal government. One was a federally funded AARP program which employed senior workers. And this meant that our longtime front desk worker, Ms. Paul, that program was eliminated. We've been able to bring Ms. Paul back on board as program staff. Of course, that had to increase cost directly to us, but we felt it was important to make that investment. Ms. Paul provides invaluable service at the front desk at the Neighborhood Resource Hub, linking residents into a range of services. The other cut, which is more disturbing, had to do with the elimination and then restoration of the statewide AmeriCorps programs. So DOGE cuts eliminated all state-run AmeriCorps programs. For us, this meant that our public safety AmeriCorps and our domestic violence advocates that were all laid off. Federal court orders have gone and reinstated those programs, but there's great uncertainty about will they come back this fiscal year and will they even be in the budget next fiscal year. What this means for us is, for example, our two domestic violence advocates were provided to us via a contract with Wayne State University. That would cost us about $18,000 a year for two DV advocates, one in the 5th precinct, one in the 7th precinct. And these individuals are doing great work. Last year, we provided domestic violence recovery services to more than 1,000 victims of DV and intimate partner violence. With the absence of the AmeriCorps support, to hire those individuals back on as full-time employees, it would be about $72,000 a year. And that would only replace one of them. So we're currently trying to identify funds to restore the domestic violence advocates, but to date, we've not been successful. If anyone is interested in perhaps supporting this work, please reach out to me. Or if anyone has any ideas on different funding sources, please let me know. Sabrina and I are going to be working on this as our priority next year on securing the funds for our clean and safe programming. The other impact on this was our public safety field workers. These were the AmeriCorps program workers that would come out, install deadbolts, door locks, do VIN etching, distribute car clubs, safety flyering, safety signage in neighborhoods. We've got to figure out a way to refill those positions as well too. So our ComSat process is still going because that was done separately from the AmeriCorps workers, but our DV program and our field safety, public safety is on hold right now. So we'll keep trying to fill that. But on a positive side, our other federal grants, those funds continue to flow. I want to thank the team for helping to navigate through that, and we'll figure out the DV and the field public safety workers. Now, from that negative news, I need to give you guys some good news. Many years ago, we didn't do home repair. We had a lot of great partner agencies that provided it, and over the years, there was a shakeout of those. But we heard from residents, one of your biggest needs was home repair. The other thing we're very concerned about here are rising energy costs. Nationwide, electric costs are slated to go up about 5.5% due to the increased energy consumption demands of AI data centers. So we need to do everything we can to save residents money on their utility bills, on their electric bills, and also make sure their homes are healthy, safe, and secure, and can allow for the creation of generational wealth in our neighborhoods, and make sure longtime Detroiters that have stuck it out are able to age gracefully in their homes and build that asset for the next generation. So fortunately, we have a wonderful young woman, Ms. Faiza Sadah, who is our Director of Resilient Homes. And Faiza has just grown our home repair work tremendously. So I'm going to hand it over to Faiza and take it away, Faiza. We'll update on how the home repair program's going.
Thank you, Josh. Nice to see everybody here. I do have some good news to go over with you. So really, really good news. So the year isn't over and we've already, oh my God, we've already made a very big impact in the community. We've already deployed $1.5 million in home repair. And this was brought in by several different programs. One of my favorite programs, the DTEA program, the Detroit Home Repair Fund, MISHTA My Neighborhood, and the Decarbonization Program. These investments provided major life-changing repairs in residents' homes. We provided weatherization, which will cut utility costs for residents. We, provided better indoor air quality, and then we provided seniors with adequate accessibility and addressing major home repair issues. So all in all, we are, keeping people in their homes, making homes stronger, and also empowering our customers all at the same time with these programs. In 2025, we've already serviced 90 customers. They received energy efficiency upgrades. We've completed 4 roof replacements, which are very challenging to get approved through the process. And we provided about 160 weatherization measures. So it's about 2 weatherization measures installed in each customer. Hold on, baby. We've invested an average of $14,000 with the DTE program for residents in the city. Unfortunately, some of the homes in the city of Detroit are beyond the scope of the program. So we did have to walk away of those programs, but we were able to refer them over to the city of Detroit for their critical home repair program. Sad news for myself is effective May 9th that the DTE program is on hold. I am working very hard with the SEAL team to make sure we secure some allocations for some emergency customers as we approach those cooler months. MISHTA My Neighborhood. I've grown to really love this program, even with all of the challenges to get customers through this. But we're able to address critical home repairs, again, accessibility, and provide weatherization measures. This is a very small grant, but we are looking to apply for additional funds. It's about $300,000. We look to service about 16 residents in the city of Detroit, providing those installs for them. And good news is we already allocated $122,000 to about 5 of those customers. There's certain requirements for this program is one that customers must have homeowners insurance and keep homeowners insurance, as there is a 5-year lien put on the home. You want to go there? Okay. All right. The Detroit Home Repair Fund. This is one of our. That's it. Okay. I'm almost done. Okay. We've completed 10 home repair projects this year in the city of Detroit. Majority of those are in the Jefferson Ave area. We've invested $200,000 year to date for these programs. For this program in particular, addressing health and safety issues, accessibility, and just overall major home repairs. An average for those homes are about $22,000. We did have to walk away from 2 homes due to the foundation issue, and that is one of the deferral issues that makes many of our residents walk away from any of our programs. We do have 2 under construction, and we are seeking additional 8 homes to complete. Okay, this is one of our semi-newer programs, but it is a decarbonization program, and it is focusing on electrifying residents' homes, looking to, reduce carbon emission in homes and addressing those barriers that will make a home a walk away for weatherization. Some of the installs could be installing a mini split system to their boiler system for cooling, converting gas stoves to electric stoves. So overall, we are looking to service about 10 customers with this program within the remaining of 2025 and going into 2026. Another new program is the Weatherization Sleep Study, Weatherization Health Effects Study that is a partnership with the University of Michigan, and it's just looking how uncomfortable indoor conditions can affect health and sleep. There's some requirements for the participant, but there is also a gift card for participants up to $380. And Josh, I'm not sure, do you want me to go through this or do you want to talk about the challenges?
No, I can take over
Okay.
here, Faiza. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, and say hello to Mahedi, and thank you for
Okay,
doing this
thank
again.
you.
So no, and no, so one of some of the challenges that we're facing, just like everything else, why we've been able to service hundreds of clients over the last 2 years, and Faiza pointed out we're going to probably hit close to probably 200 by the course that the year is done this year. We still have a wait list that exceeds as almost as 600 homeowners throughout our service area. So we continue to try to identify new resources for home repair. Also, the DTE, as Faiza mentioned, placed the energy efficiency program on pause. We were so good at getting money out the door across the city on this program that they had to pause the program. So the good news is Jefferson East, thanks to Faiza's leadership as well as the great work of our team, Aldo Hernandez, your neighbor Jackie Richmond, for getting people qualified into this program, as well as Miss Paul. We're a high producer, so we're looking forward to getting larger allocations of EEA funds in the next year to continue to attack our wait list. We always are out there looking for additional funds. We recently brought in an additional $50,000 grant from Fannie Mae through our friends at the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative to help supplement the Detroit Home Repair Fund to kind of backfill some of the stuff that EEA used to pay for the rest of the year. We're going to be going after more MISHDA, My Neighborhood funds. And something I'm really excited about, and this is sort of hot off the presses, we were approved as a contractor for the new MyHer program, which is a statewide energy efficiency upgrade program. We'll be functioning as a contractor and then working with our existing stable of subcontractors to deploy energy efficiency upgrades. So we're going to have more information on this program, the qualifications, but this is going to be able to bring several other $100,000 additional dollars, hopefully, to residents for utility upgrades, energy efficiency upgrades, weatherization to improve indoor air quality and things like that. Finally, our friends at the City of Detroit continue their hard work to expand home repair. This year they went through their first round of the new critical home repair program. They'll be opening up another phase of the critical home repair program. And folks can call 866-313-2520 to get updates on when phase 2 will open in early 2026. So I can't say enough for the whole team in deploying things here, and I'm just very, very proud of the work we're doing to help improve housing stability and resilient homes throughout our neighborhoods. But we fully know that we still have a lot more homes to service. We're going to continue to identify those resources, and we want to thank all of our friends that are out there that provide home repair resources from the city down to many of other groups across the city of Detroit. So it's a team effort here working to improve our housing stock and the lives of residents. Kind of moving on here to resilient neighborhoods. One thing, maybe we finally updated our trash can wraps to quit reminding people to get vaccinated and wear masks. So sorry that took so long there. You'll see our new Resilient Homes and Resilient Humans trash can wraps. Thanks to a donation from the Detroit Housing Network, we're able to cover the cost on these upgrades. We're using our trash can wraps to sort of create greater awareness of our housing counseling, housing stabilization, and home repair services. So you'll see these up and down the corridor. We place them near bus stops. There's a QR code people can scan to get plugged into our services. That link to the wonderful new website that Sabrina Underwood just completed. So hat tip again to Sabrina for that hard work. And of course, also just another way we keep the corridor looking nice with our clean ambassadors that removed almost 1,400 tons of trash the last year. And I think we're at about 890 so far this year on tons of trash removed. So thank you to our clean team workers and for all the individuals that sponsor. If you are interested in sponsoring our clean and safe services, visit jeffersoneast.org, reach out to myself or Sabrina. But just another way we keep the corridor looking good and also create awareness of all of the great programs that we offer. Of course, as you know, we maintain more than oops, I lost the screen there, Sabrina.
Okay. Get it back for
As you know, we maintain more than 155 trash cans up and down the East Jefferson corridor, providing trash can emptying 3 times a week during the summer season, as well as litter maintenance 3 times a week in the peak season, providing assistance to motorists, pedestrians, referring graffiti tags for removal, all that good stuff. Unfortunately, as I mentioned, because of the federal AmeriCorps cutbacks, our target hardening services are on hold, as our domestic violence services are on hold. So we're going to continue to try to find the resources to bring these back online, and I'll hopefully have some positive updates here in the next meeting on these two. Um, um, Other great news, but I want to turn it over to Sabrina Underwood because while we have some good news, but I can't announce exactly who the person is. We have a new staff member coming on board to help us with our resilient business work, and we'll have a formal announcement of this individual in about a week or so. But Sabrina Underwood has just been doing Yale person's work to engaging around our community tech consultant program and keeping our small business services working and really becoming the face of outreach up and down the East Jefferson corridor. So, Sabrina, you want to talk a little bit about the impact of the CTC work and our small business services?
Sure. Well, right now we have really served we're serving businesses all the time. Small business owners primarily who are in need of a variety of technical services, such as assistance with their point of sale systems, or if you if they have questions or need assistance with the website. Everybody, TikTok is the latest craze these days. Folks need help creating short form videos for marketing promotions, all sorts of things as it relates to tech for businesses. Our community tech consultants offer that in partnership with the University of Michigan, Detroit Neighborhood Entrepreneurs Project, STENA. So with that being said, this has been going on now for a few years. Several of you have engaged with our community tech consultants. Well, right now we're actually looking for another person to replace Danielle, who moved on. And you'll see more about that position later on. But if you have any questions or if you would like to get set up for a meeting or consult, or just to get services from our community tech consultants, we have our partner with Live 6, which is right over there on the west side. So our community tech consultants there can assist you in the meantime. So feel free to give me a call at 313-261-2947 or email me at sunderwood@jeffersoneast.org, and I can definitely get you set up and get you on over there. Every other Friday, we offer, in partnership also with DNAP, free one-on-one accounting assistance through the students at the Ross Business School with U of M. So if you sometimes people send their staff members down, need assistance with accounting software, help interpreting your financial systems like your profit and loss and things like that. A lot of people come to meet with the accounting consultants if they are preparing for grant applications or pitch competitions, so to speak, and they need assistance setting up budgeting and that kind of thing. This free service is for small business owners in our service area. So again, they meet every other Friday at the Neighborhood Resource Hub. If you go to jeffersoneast.org/small business, you'll see the section there where you can sign up and you can register for an appointment. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to call me, 313-261-2947. I can answer any questions you have and definitely get you in touch with the right folks over there. And I'm going to hand it back over to Josh.
Thank you, Sabrina. And yeah, the accounting services are just great. Really great feedback from business owners that were using those services. They meet right up there at the Resource Hub. And once we get our new CTC worker back on board, we'll have the CTC services right out there of the Resource Hub as well too. Anyway, quickly wanted to run through a couple exciting things. As we sort of completed the first phase of what we called our Jefferson Chalmers Main Street project with the Marlboro Apartments, the renovation of the neighborhood resource hub, and of course now with Antidote opening up in 14628, sort of rounded that out. Properties still left under Jefferson East control include the three small retail buildings, 14313, the old Crown Cleaners, 14326, as well as 14522 East Jefferson. And then, of course, what we're calling the Gateway Project right here at Alter and Jefferson, the three-story Platt Motor Building, as well as the parcels at the corner of Alter and Jefferson. So, where we're really focused most of our activity on has been moving the Gateway project forward. Many of you have seen these sort of initial conceptual renderings. Well, I'm very pleased to report that we have received pre-development support from the Strategic Neighborhood Fund. We've been able to pull a new team together to put together sort of the pre-development package to actually dive in and get to the actual numbers on what we could actually build on this site, what the financial package would look like, how much money we'd have to secure to do this project, and sort of building upon several years now of civic engagement around this site, really hone in on an actionable plan for this key corridor we're calling the Eastern Gateway to the city of Detroit. Now, we had originally envisioned, sort of renovating the historic structure into a mix of apartments and retail space, looking at, more retail space here on the corner with some covered parking. But as we dove into this analysis, we realized that this concept, as presented, would be very expensive. So, pulling together the pre-development team, which includes Macintosh Porous Architects, Plant Moran will be doing some financial modeling on this. Jonah Construction, which has a long history in renovating sort of historic buildings like this, and then sort of the advising support of our owner's rep, Jed Haubert, put together a few concepts we've been testing out, and I wanted to kind of give you a little sneak peek on where we're at right now. So we looked initially at, really kind of 5 different options. Option 1 was sort of 3-story, renovation of the historic building, and then the construction of, a new 3-story building with additional housing linked by sort of a sky bridge between the two. Option 2A was the same concept, but only 2 stories on the new build with a sky bridge in between there. Then there were just some slight modifications on this. And then option 3 didn't have the sky bridge, but just had sort of what you call a single load new construction building with apartments and then ground floor retail. And then option 4 had to do with what you call a double load, a little bit more larger building on the corner. As we started to dive through these different models with our, consultants, our historic tax credit consultants, the architects, the construction company, we quickly realized that there were several problems. This development here, option 1, having the buildings linked like this would have been hard to get historic tax credits for. Also, you'll notice on this, it's kind of hard to see, but we kind of cantilevered this building over to get more parking. This would have necessitated sort of steel construction, and given steel tariffs and rising costs there, this would have been a very expensive sort of build. Same with even option 2A, because you have the cantilevering and the steel construction and the linking. So that kind of pushed our modeling into options 2B and 3 and 4. One of the other driving North Stars on this was, how can we get an actionable project that we can park, right? So one of the main challenges we have, and Andrea will talk about this a little bit in some of the zoning things, is we've got parking requirements. Then we also have parking expectation, right? If someone's going to rent an apartment, they're really looking for, a secured lot to park. So as we sort of modeled these out, we really wanted to make sure that the space behind the buildings here could be used to adequately provide parking spaces for the residents. One of the things we learned from like the Marlboro project, where we eventually will be building parking lots, but we've had issues with car break-ins. And so we have to provide a safe place to park to help lower people's insurance costs. So we've really kind of zoomed in on this option 3 here, in which you end up with sort of 2 standalone buildings, shared parking in the back, and even an option for some covered parking. This would provide us with enough parking coverage on site without having to worry about obtaining adjacent lots that we don't control. Would also have some surplus parking, a few spaces to service retail potentially. So we're really kind of zooming in on this option 3 right here. The other thing that we kind of learned is, and here's sort of a different view of that option 3A, there was a big desire from individuals for live work units or even a ground floor um, access residential. We heard from a lot of seniors that went over and looked at the Marlboro apartments and we know those buildings do not have elevators, that really wanted to be able to enter their unit from the ground floor. Or we heard from entrepreneurs and retailers that wanted to be able to, maybe they could have a shop in the space. So we're exploring, like on the first floor of the historic building here, could we have what we're calling live work units? It could be residential, it could be commercial, it could be a mix of the two. The new construction building, we're still modeling this out. Because one of the big things we don't know is how much retail do we want to build into this building, right? Because we know what a challenge retail can be, but we also know that with the opening of the Scops Art Center across the street and the installation of the new sort of higher speed bus stop here that will be built by the city, there's kind of going to be cross-border demand here that we would want to look to capitalize on. So we're still modeling this out, but one idea would be, having some commercial space in the historic building there at Alter and Jefferson, and then having, maybe 4 bays of either live work retail. But then we're also looking at, could this all be ground floor retail here if we wanted to look at restaurant space, bar space, things like that. Here's the parking I was talking about. So nice screen parking, rear parking here, adequately parked, including up to probably 10 garage spaces that would enter off the alley. So this is the model we're going to kind of zone in and do a deeper dive on pricing, on incentives, on what it would take to do this project. And so that's kind of where we're at. When we get a little bit further along on this, when I can come back and talk to you about real trade-offs on numbers, on how the different retail configurations might work, we'll kind of come back to everyone to get some more earnest feedback from folks. But I can tell you this really is an iterative process. I mean, one of the things we learned, we had a meeting with our historic tax credit consultant, and we had talked about, maybe doing 2 units in the front of the old building here. The original door, though, was right here in the middle, which we would have to get historic tax credits. So that impacts the design of these front spaces. We also know that, the steel has gotten so expensive with tariffs that, we shifted to a stick built here on the corner, which would, limit what we could do. Hence, we'll only have the single loaded there as well, too. So we'll do, we're going to refine this a little bit more, and then we'll look to do a more robust event, probably sometime in September, October, just sort of dedicated to this project site. But I wanted to give folks a taste of this, so let me know what you think. But we're going to refine this over the next couple weeks, and then be able to come back for some more feedback. Then we'll get into other design elements and this and that. The historic building is 14801 East Jefferson. So it's the 3-story old Platt Motor Building at the corner of Ashland and East Jefferson. And then we'd be looking, there's a old building that's right here, was the old Rent-A-Center, and then there was the old dollar store, and then there's a parking lot on the corner. These 2 buildings here would actually be demolished as they're non-contributing to the historic district, and then new building here to maintain the street wall. That's what we're thinking right now, which makes the most sense. So there we go on that. So we'll keep you posted on that, but we've got a great team kind of working on this, putting the pre-development is, and the goal is to really get an actionable plan, have really firm numbers on this. And a huge thank you to our friends at Invest Detroit and the Strategic Neighborhood Fund for providing the pre-development support on this as well, too. So we'll have more on this, and we'll keep you posted. Other thing we're still trying to figure out is the three retail buildings. I think in the past I've talked about these. the construction costs on smaller retail buildings are just very, very challenging right now. We've had these buildings on the market. We've not really gotten any realistic offers from either potential tenants or buyers on these. 14313 East Jefferson, the former Crown Cleaners building. This is probably the most challenging of all three of the sites. It's essentially landlocked. We don't own any of the land around it, so I can't adequately park this site. We had an interested tenant, but the rent I would have to charge on this, if I were to renovate this building with no sort of subsidy support, would be about $27,000 a month. And that is really the burden we're facing on these smaller retail buildings. So I'm still struggling with these. I'm moving, much as I hate to demo old buildings, we are moving to the possibility that we may have to demo the Crown Cleaners building. Talking with some other local development partners about 14522 and 14326 East Jefferson, as those are contributing structures of the historic district and they have more adjacent land for parking. So I wish I had more to report on these, but I'm still really struggling with these three buildings right now. So I will keep you posted on those. Now, as you know, we do work up and down the entire East Jefferson corridor. And one little tidbit I wanted to say with you, we're continuing to move on to implementation on the Rivertown Business Improvement Zone. As I mentioned last month, this would be in Rivertown, and this would be a special assessment that property owners would have to vote on that would provide dollars for public area services such as clean ambassadors, enhanced safety, marketing. But this is just in the Rivertown neighborhood. Now, we heard a lot of feedback from our friends at City Council, from some stakeholders. One of the pieces of feedback we got from stakeholders was they were concerned about the amount of parkland that was in the biz zone. And while our biz plan didn't specifically call out maintaining the river walk or any of the parks that were here, we went back and we've actually modified these maps slightly in that we're going to be carving out Irma Henderson Park and then also ending the eastern biz boundary right here at Grand Boulevard. So the new map would basically, the biz would stop here at Grand Boulevard. It would jog a little bit east of the Belle Isle Bridge, and then the rest of the boundaries would be the same. So we have to submit a new petition package, go back for additional signatures, and then we'll be looking to have a public update meeting on the Rivertown Biz, probably in late September, and then going back in front of council, probably October, November. The good news is, continue to get strong support from stakeholders in the district, but we do continue to meet with property owners so they can understand what their assessment impact would be, how the business improvement zone would work, what the funds could be spent on, and all of that. So if anyone has property here in Rivertown, or if you live in Rivertown, also keep in mind, this does not impact single-family residential or single-family condominiums. It's only anything that is zoned commercial. So office, industrial, retail, and such. So feel free to reach out to me. I can give you a briefing on biz, and we will make sure that everyone knows about the next public meeting on the Rivertown Business Improvement Zone as well, too. Now, I want to next turn it over to Andrea Taverna. She has a really exciting update on something that Jefferson East board voted in favor of supporting, which is some zoning changes to basically make it easier to build housing and affordable housing here in the city of Detroit. We know from our experience in both our development work and also in supporting other developers, both nonprofit and private sector, that complying with antiquated zoning codes can often drive up the time it takes to do a project, and that increases your cost. And a lot of times we don't have things which are called by right to increase density. And we all know that if you have more supply, that lowers cost. So we're always trying to find ways to build density in the corridor, create more opportunities for affordable housing developments, for market rate developments, for all types of development, because we know that if we have more of a product, it will lower the overall costs. And we are dealing with a housing crisis in this country, and we need to build, build, build. So that being said, I want to turn over to Andrea Taverna, the Deputy Chief Operating Officer with the City of Detroit, who's going to spend some time going through these proposed changes to the city's zoning code to help us build more housing for Detroiters that desperately need it. Andrea, take it away.
Thank you so much, Josh, and thank you to everyone who's spending part of their Monday evening hearing about zoning from me. Josh said it much better than I could have, which is Detroit and the country is in a housing crisis. We need more housing urgently, and the zoning code is really a key barrier here in the city to building that housing because it is very restrictive, very complicated, and ultimately pretty antiquated in its requirements. So our goals in these zoning updates are to increase housing supply, to reduce the price pressure that is pushing housing costs up here in the city. So the goal is bending that cost curve and keeping costs lower for residents. And then our second goal is expanding opportunities for residents and small local developers to build. So as I'll talk about more, when you have a complicated set of rules, it really advantages the sophisticated big actors who are able to navigate those. So starting with that first goal, addressing housing costs, Detroit needs to build more housing in part to protect longtime residents. So we've really turned a corner here in the city. And as you may know, Detroit's been adding population over the last few years. We now lead the state in population growth. Actually, last year we added about 7,000 residents. The challenge to that growth, though, is that our housing supply didn't keep up. So we didn't build enough housing to serve that population. And that creates a really urgent risk, which is that if housing is scarce, it pushes prices up. There's more competition for the same number of homes. And if we see rapid housing cost growth, that particularly risks longtime residents who can't afford such rapid growth. So we're laser focused on this. We're trying to get something done this year. And I think we have an opportunity to make a big impact. So the second goal that I mentioned was leveling the playing field for small local developers. So making sure that our homegrown developers here have an equal chance to be able to take advantage of the growth of Detroit and participate in it. As I alluded to, Detroit has a 936-page zoning code. That's a photo of it. It's about the size of the phone book. The rules in there are obviously very complicated. It's 940 pages. They're also quite restrictive. So as Josh said, there are very few projects that can proceed what's called by right, which means they don't need any kind of special approval. They just apply for a building permit. There are very few projects that can go through that path. Most projects in the city actually require some kind of special city approval, even when it's things like affordable housing that we know the need in the city, and we hear so often from the community that they want to see it. So big developers can hire consultants and attorneys to navigate these rules, to seek the special approvals or exemptions, to seek some of those special requirements I was talking about. But small developers don't typically have the same resources. So the goal is making it easier and smoother to develop by right so that small developers have the same playing field. So there are 5 proposals that I'll go through, and I'll do it relatively quickly, but I'm happy to go into more detail in our Q&A or in our conversation as you would like. So the first 3 proposals here are all about expanding the different types of housing that can be built, mostly in what's called R2 zones, which I'll speak to in a moment. Number 4 here is around making it easier to rebuild on vacant lots. And number 5 is around offering flexibility on the size of parking lots, which again, as Joshua really said it better than I could, the size of parking lots and the requirement to include a parking lot on each project can be really, really challenging in practice when you're trying to develop these parcels. So many of these proposals primarily affect what's called R2 neighborhoods. That's a type of zoning category, and each zoning category includes its own rules about what's permitted and what isn't there. So we're focused on R2. Those are some of the denser residential areas of the city. About 1 in 4 lots in the city are R2, and about half of those lots are vacant. There are also plenty of R2 lots and quite a bit of R2 zoning in the area served by Jefferson East Inc. So you can see here a map, all of the parcels in black here are R2, so many of the neighborhoods that folks on this call are in will be R2 zoning and directly affected. So the first proposal here is to make it easier to build more housing by expanding the types of housing that are allowed to be built by right. So as you may know, before current zoning rules took effect, it was really common to see triplexes, which is a 3-unit building, quads, which is a 4-unit building, or townhomes, which are attached single-family homes. All of those were really common in R2. When you drive around your neighborhood, you likely see them. Unfortunately, now our current antiquated zoning rules require special approval from the city to build those. So we took a long-established type of housing in the city and said you can no longer build it by right. You have to seek special approval to build those in the city. We'd like to reverse that and kind of get back to the original way that the city was developed by allowing these buildings to be built by right. The second component of this proposal is that there are still some larger buildings that will be what's called conditionally zoned, which means you need to have a public hearing and get feedback from the neighbors before the project can proceed. Some larger buildings will remain conditional. Right now, a developer can propose up to 8 units conditionally. We'd like to let them propose up to 12 units. And again, residents and neighbors will still have an opportunity to come to a public hearing, weigh in on whether that should be approved or not. So there's still a lot of protection around where those buildings may go and neighbor voice in where those buildings would go. The second component of the proposal is also, again, kind of expanding the different types of housing that can be built in R2. This is specifically around what's called accessory dwelling units. You may know those as carriage houses. That's typically what we call them in Detroit. They're independent homes that exist usually in the backyard. They're detached from the main home. You can see a couple photos here on the right that kind of show one a little bit more modern and one a little more historical, what those homes look like. Currently, you can't build those at all in R2 zoning and in other R3 through 6, so the densest residential parts of the city, those require, again, special city approval. That's very challenging to obtain to be able to build this. Our goal is to allow these to be built by right in R2 zones and the denser residential zones, because not only does this expand housing supply, but it offers diverse housing options. So I've actually heard from a lot of people throughout the community engagement around this proposal that they would love to have an accessory dwelling unit on their property because they have young kids and they'd love for their in-laws to be able to stay nearby, but not in their home, to be able to help them care for the children. Or conversely, I heard from a woman actually in Morningside who was interested in building an accessory dwelling unit so that her daughter could live, again, nearby, very, very close by in close relationship, but not necessarily in the same home. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to do that because they are so challenging to build right now in the city. And she is actually, her daughter is renting in Grosse Pointe. So of course, we want to provide these types of options here in the city and kind of give everyone many different opportunities for how they use their property based on their family's needs. The third proposal and kind of the final one around housing typologies or different types of housing that we may permit in different areas would be allowing apartment buildings on commercial corridors. So really similar setup here. As the city was originally developed, it was relatively common to see kind of small apartment buildings. You have a couple examples here on the right, developed on commercial corridors. So there's a mix of kind of business uses, small retail, small apartment buildings, maybe apartment buildings that include a retail first floor, that's called mixed use. So our proposal is to, again, kind of get back to that traditional way that Detroit developed by allowing apartments on commercial corridors without any kind of special approval. The idea, of course, is to keep giving residents different options for their housing based on their own interests, have this broader vision of mixed use, so allowing a corridor to have different uses, not just one building to be mixed use. And then, of course, bringing more residents to our commercial corridors also brings more customers for small businesses and helps our commercial corridors thrive. Wonderful. So the fourth proposal here is one that I'm particularly excited about. It's a little bit in the weeds, so bear with me, but our current zoning rules on the sizing and spacing of homes actually make it very difficult to rebuild homes on vacant lots. So you may know most Detroit neighborhoods have lots that are 30 to 40 feet wide. That's pretty typical. Our zoning code actually says that you need a 50-foot lot to build any kind of housing. which is a rule that blows my mind every time I talk about it. There are some exemptions that allow you to build a house on these smaller lots, but they're really narrow and restrictive. You can only build a very small home, and it has to be single family. So our goal here would be making it easier to rebuild on these vacant lots by instead allowing sizing and spacing that really matches the existing homes in the neighborhoods. And then also allowing other types of homes that may be permitted, like a duplex or a triplex, to be built on those lots. So you can see here along the bottom of the slide, existing homes that were built with these kind of sizing requirements I'm talking about. On the bottom right, those are newly built homes that look like the requirements that are proposed here. So the idea is that as you drive through your neighborhoods, this will look very similar to the housing that you're familiar with already. And last but not least, getting back to the issue of parking, this is actually the single most common development barrier that developers mention to the city. It's kind of hard to overstate how much a challenge it is to build the parking lots that we require. So our zoning code typically requires that a large parking lot is built for each building, but the money and the land that you need to build that lot directly reduces what you can use for housing. And then again, as Joshua referenced, there are some parcels where you can't actually fit the required parking lot, and it actually makes the parcel essentially undevelopable. So our proposal is to allow more flexibility on the size of parking lot that is required in different circumstances. There are a few very top of mind for us. The first is housing projects that are near transit. So you can see actually this second photo under current approach is La Jolla Gardens. It's in the heart of Southwest. It's right next to a supermarket and retail and job opportunities, but we required them to build a very large parking lot regardless, and it directly reduced how many units that they could put in that building. So the idea is giving a little bit more flexibility for housing projects that are near transit lines, as well as projects that can propose a sensible alternative approach. So it may be that you're in a very bikeable neighborhood and you want to do bike racks. It may be that you're serving, a senior affordable housing complex and you really expect very few of your residents to have cars. If you can walk us through kind of a rational reason for why you're looking at an alternative, we'd like to give some flexibility to approve those alternatives. The last two parking proposals, apologies, Sabrina, there were two more to hit there. Thanks. Two other areas of flexibility we're looking to offer are around small businesses. So right now, very small buildings don't need to have their own parking lot. We'd like to expand the size of building that's able to take advantage of that. And then we'd like to make it easier for multiple businesses to share a lot. So you may have a dense commercial strip that you're looking to serve. Actually, Nya spoke to this as we were preparing for this call. She has a restaurant, it operates mostly in the evening. There's a barber shop nearby, operates mostly during the day. Is it possible for them to share a parking lot so that we can be just efficient with our use of space, especially as we're building out commercial corridors? So last but not least, wanted to return to just our North Star. How do these changes benefit residents? Why are we advocating so hard for them? The first reason is allowing more housing to be built in the city reduces the upward pressure on home prices. So we're trying to keep housing costs lower for Detroiters and slow the growth in rent. The second is that these changes would give residents and small local developers more opportunities to build. So a lot of what we're talking about here is infill housing. It's putting an ADU in your backyard, or putting a small ADU or tiny home, or a full home if you want, on the side lot that you bought from DLBA. This really opens up many broader opportunities for what Detroiters can do in their neighborhoods. And of course, it offers more options to buy a home at a lower cost, like a condo building. That's a kind of a small building that's not necessarily a duplex or single family, but it gives you an opportunity to still purchase. And then of course, it offers more options to rent at a lower cost in the neighborhood. So would love this group's feedback, very happy to answer questions. Where we are in terms of the process is that this proposal is before the City Planning Commission. That commission takes a look at it and recommends approval or recommends denial. We're expecting to go back to the CPC in September for that formal recommendation. And then it would move to City Council, where there are also, again, the full set of public hearings, committee hearings, the formal public hearing, and then a formal session. So we're, I'd say, 50% through the process here, still doing community engagement. We'll be working on this throughout the fall.
Andrea, thank you. For those of you that have been around the table with Jefferson East for the past 30 years, I see Paulette and I see like John Myers and Katrina and Rhonda, this is a lot of the stuff that we did localized for the Jefferson Chalmers Business District through special overlays. Like we did a traditional Main Street zoning overlay, which relaxed parking requirements. The city did some other reforms to key corridors, but this is going to systematize this and make it accessible over a broader scope. And also, I can't say enough about simplifying the zoning code to provide greater opportunities for smaller Detroit-based developers. Time and time again, I watch, a resident will call me and they'll be like, I bought 3 lots and my son wants to come back up from Houston and build some townhomes. And they just couldn't do it, right? They just couldn't do it because we had changed the zoning code to basically stop Detroit from doing what it used to do best, was building this sort of accessible, smaller scale, higher density housing, which drove a lot of our growth over the years. The other part I like about this is it creates opportunity for sort of equity for residents. Like if a resident could develop something and maybe live in one duplex and then rent out the other one, creating more of those ownership opportunities for wealth building for Detroiters. And then just from an energy efficiency standard, if you're sharing a wall, that's less to heat and cool, and you're going to save money on utilities. So this form has a lot to offer, and making it by right, the way it used to be, I think could be go a lot way to boost supply. So I'll quit talking there. And Sabrina, do we want to do questions right now, or what are your thoughts?
Yes, let's get questions.
Okay. Any questions on either Andrea's presentation or anything else that you've seen tonight?
Well, in the chat, Aisha B asked, "What's the address of the historic building?"
Yeah, I said it's 1 East Jefferson is the historic Platt Motor Building. Yes.
And yes, Jamie. Jamie asked, "Will the meeting recording be posted to Facebook?" Yes, it will. I'll get it right up for you.
So I see Rhonda's got her hand raised.
Yep. 1 second.
And then John.
Hi, Rhonda. You can go on ahead and ask your question.
You hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you. Hey, Rhonda.
Hey, hi, everybody. I have a few little comments. I know that in Dearborn they were trying to do ADUs, and they stopped them from doing ADUs in Dearborn. I just would like to know best practices with Detroit as a growing city. Infill housing is my preference. I'm just wondering whether or not under best practices, these ADUs or the various housing that we will be doing infill, the cost of not just how they would turn out in the end, but the cost of building, because I know a lot of legacy residents who have a lot of financing issues, and the financing portion of this would have to be a big piece for a legacy residents here in the city of Detroit.
Yeah, Andrea, Rhonda, that's a very good question. I'll have to reach out to Jordan Twardy over at the city of Dearborn, and get some answers. I had the privilege of serving on their economic development committee briefly, and I know they were bringing back the accessory units to go back as part of their housing plan, but they hadn't gotten there. But I can ask Jordan to get some feedback on what happened in Dearborn. The last thing I'll say on the economics of it, I mean, you're absolutely right, right? Like you're going to have all the other costs with development. You're going to have the land assemblage costs. You're going to have the construction costs. But I think what this would have an advantage on reducing overall costs is you wouldn't have to go for those specialized hearings. You wouldn't have to hire the attorneys and the lawyers to go through those specialized hearings. So it reduced what we call the soft costs, which can oftentimes be like 30% of the overall development cost. So I think that's one of the appeals on this. But I'll reach out to Jordan and see if I can get an answer on the ADUs. And Andrea, anything that you would add to Rhonda's question?
I think you hit the nail on the head. The goal is, if you're a resident who's trying to put a small small unit on your property, we really don't want you to spend months and months hiring an attorney or a consultant to work through the city's process. That can be tens of thousands of dollars.
Okay, in response to that, Andrea and Josh, I mean, an example that we're facing now, I mean, a good example is the land bank that operates within the city of Detroit. And the way the land bank has been operating is a predecessor to what you're saying this rezoning would do for residents. Well, so many residents have ran into problems in the residential area with obtaining these, obtaining land and properties and so forth and so on. So I'm just saying, I think the land bank is a prelude to some of the issues that we may run into during this rezoning process. And we need to work those things out first.
Yeah, I hear you on the land bank, Rhonda, because we ran into some of those with our own thing on some development projects in Island View in dealing with the land bank. So I'm not going to comment on the land bank today.
Okay.
But I fully,
Okay.
I fully hear you because how land is more easily assembled for development, I think, is a key thing that the next administration is going to have to figure out.
Exactly. That's definitely going to have to be done because I think there are a lot of kinks there. And I mean, we just have some major concerns regarding that. I mean, because we need to see it publicly spelled out. I think there are some meetings coming up with the land bank on how they're, organizing and redoing their work. I just think that's a catalyst that we need to, look further into because it would be a roadblock in this situation.
No, I hear you on that, Rhonda. Thank you for raising that, and great to hear your voice too. So hope you're doing well.
Josh. Oh yes, thank you.
Thanks. All right, John has his hand patiently raised. John, how are you, brother?
Hi, everyone, and thanks for this opportunity. I have resigned myself to the 4 Jefferson Chalmer riverfront parks, but I still have a stake in the fire with the residential situation. And of course, until we figure out a resolution for the floodplain, everything's kind of up in the air. But I want to comment on several things, and we'll start with the duplex. And I think that's a fantastic idea, and I think we should incentivize owner occupied somehow and get back to the way where you come in and you buy your first investment and somebody else helps you pay the mortgage. So I think we should figure out how to incentivize that. And I think the opinion of rental properties would change rapidly. Secondly, when we built the Creekside Homes, we bought three properties, 90 feet, and divided by 2. I'm not sure what you're recommending for standard widths, but I personally feel 30 is a little bit small. We have more cars. When I grew up, we had 1 car in a 3-car garage over on the east side. But by the time we were, into the 80s, there was 4 cars parked up there, and parking is an issue. Even though I would love to see mass transit become a reality here. The third thing is carriage houses. So I'm just going to share my situation here down on the canal. Somebody decided they wanted to build a boathouse with a 2nd floor apartment. And because they were they worked for building safety engineering, and they got their 3 zoning variances. I got it overturned in circuit court, and they built it without regard to the circuit court ruling. And it's been a party house for 10 years until I finally had to file in circuit court to end the mess there. And again, there's parking issues down here, especially on Scripps, that we have to keep in mind that, there's a lot of boat people that come down here during the day and fish and park, and we only have parking on one side of the street. So we just want to keep in mind some of these things that affect the people that lived there for a long time before we invite new people to come in and, you know, so there's reasons for, zoning. So we just want to be careful not to be too reckless about what we allow.
Yeah, John, no, thank you for that. And thank you for on the duplex comment. And yeah, on the accessory dwelling I forgot about the issue you were facing over the years on that one too. And yeah, I think it also gets into regulation even of short-term rentals and stuff as well too, which we'd have to look at, I think, as sort of ancillary to this as well too. But thank you for that, John. Andrea, do you want to talk about John mentioned the zoning widths, the 30-foot widths. Anything you can say to those concerns there that he raised?
Absolutely. So what our proposal does is it allows you to build, even if you're under the city's current minimum is 50 feet wide. So just as context, only about 10 to 15% of residential parcels in the city are 50 feet wide. So the vast bulk of our parcels are in this kind of below minimum category. And what we would do here is provide a little bit more flexibility on what your setbacks can be. So how far you need to be off your property line on those parcels that are smaller to allow them to be built. So this does, I hear you that you think 30 is a little bit small. 30 is the standard in my neighborhood. My home sits on a 30-foot lot. All of the homes that continue to stand in my neighborhood sit on a 30-foot lot. So we do hope to allow those to be built. That's a part of the proposal. And we certainly understand that lot size varies across the city. So there are some neighborhoods where that would feel much tighter than the standard. And there are some neighborhoods where that would be very closely aligned with the existing homes in the neighborhood.
Yeah, John and Rhonda, I think, what might make you a little bit more comfortable with it is I don't know if you've taken a look at the new Greatwater homes that were built in East Village on Fisher Street. Their secret sauce there was they were able to keep the cost down on that, although those homes were still pretty pricey, like 300,000. But they basically built them on 30-foot lots. And so I think it's a good, if you drive up on Fisher Street and take a look at those and you see how they kind of work on that standard. But I do hear you on sort of like parking load considerations and stuff too. So I think that was good feedback. Thank you both for that. I'm scanning through. I don't see any other hands raised. Sabrina, is there anything else in the chat or in the Q&A?
Alyssa asked if any support from residents to address your proposed zoning changes. If so, how can we support?
Absolutely. We certainly need resident support, and there are a few different ways that you can express that. One is by writing the City Planning Commission. So CPC at detroitmi.gov, they do tally all of the input they get in terms of support versus opposition. If you really want to make a big impact, coming to the public meetings to speak. So we're expecting to be back at the City Planning Commission in September, likely the 18th, although it's not confirmed yet. So there is an opportunity for public comment, and the commissioners take that very seriously. And then, of course, we'll also be, as I said, back through the city council process. So there will also be committee hearings and opportunities for public comment. Any of those three routes, again, we really care quite a bit about how residents feel about development in their neighborhoods. And your voice is very impactful there.
Okay. All right. I see Rhonda. Rhonda, you have another question? I think she's still muted. I'm trying to activate you here, Rhonda. While we wait for that, so I'm sorry, we're having trouble getting access.
Josh, am I on?
Oh yeah, we can hear you, John. Go ahead. Sorry, Rhonda.
I just want to just briefly touch on once Remus Robinson School is torn down and Stark School is torn down, I'm sure that's going to get rezoned to residential, and that's fine. But we want to get the greenway through there that we planned 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we also want them to build this in relationship to this community. And we are tired of the gates. We know we're not going to end them, but we have to keep in mind that, Josh, I couldn't even move into this neighborhood today.
Yeah.
I could not afford to move in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Between the water project, you know, pushing out the Creekside homes and the Habitat for Humanity. We have to keep this affordable down here. This neighborhood's been through too much, too often. And so, and if they try to take any more of Maharris Gentry Park and any more of that canal, we're gonna mobilize.
Yeah.
So we want to, you know, keep in mind what's here now as we redevelop this neighborhood. And, you know, that all, with the flood zone issue, it's only going to be available to the people with money.
Yeah. Yep. No, I hear you, John. And that's one of our big concerns too. And how do we assemble larger parcels of land for, you know, a range of housing, keeping affordability as a North Star as well too? And how do we reduce barriers to development to allow more to be built for more supply? But then also to your point, like how do we take advantage of some of that great planning, citizen-led planning work over the years to create those amenities and the accessibility that links things together? So I hear you, brother. So we're able to get Rhonda reactivated, Sabrina?
Oh,
Oh, hey, Rhonda.
oh, yeah. I'm just piggybacking on John about those two sites at Carson's and at Go Lightly, as well as the area of Stark School that has set abandoned. We have Guyton School as well. We got to think about how we strategically develop the neighborhood, because we got some key areas that have sat empty for way too long. So, I mean, I don't know where you want to start with it, Andrea, in the city. But this is one of those neighborhoods that, you know, the community is engaged. I mean, actively engaged. They will be there at the table to voice their concerns and opinions. You know, this is not pushback, but I'm just asking that we do it right. Because, you know, when the city of Detroit began their rebirth, there were so many best practices that we missed the mark on. And now we're backtracking on some of those things. I just like not to see that happen. And using what I would just say as equity, inclusion, and those type of terms, we all know what that means. And we would just like for this neighborhood and this city to be done right at some point. You know, we just don't want to miss the mark on this housing thing, because housing is everlasting.
Yep. No, and thank you, Rhonda. I would throw in another key site that we're really focused on, and is the old parcel 492 next to Riverbend Plaza, right? That's the largest contiguously municipally owned contiguous parcel on a major commercial corridor in the city of Detroit. So I think
Yes.
maybe what we could do is I'll reach out to Andrea, Alexa Bush, forgive me, the new planning director. You know, of course, things are a little bit transitory now. Who knows what's going to be like after November, right? But I think it would be good to kind of re-engage on some of these large sites, because yeah, like you know what, the Guyton site, right? I drove by Stark the other day with our board chair, Jim Nicholson, and he was like, "What's happening with this?" You know, and so yeah, definitely something we'll keep our finger on, and we'll see if we can maybe get some more city folks to come and chat. And Andrea, if you can carry this message back to the team, it'd be much appreciated and stuff too.
Absolutely.
All right.
And I'm sure the planning department would be happy to come speak with you, because we share, Rhonda and John, we absolutely share the goal of doing this right, being very carefully thoughtful and well balanced in what we put forward here. So I just wanted to echo back to you our agreement there.
So
Okay, thank you.
it is 7:19 and my wife is at a conference, so I have to go feed my children, guys. So I'm a single dad here tonight. Were there any other questions out there, Sabrina, that you see?
Burdell
Okay.
Bird says that, Burdell, I don't know if you're a gentleman or lady, but they would love to see the community center at Maharris Gentry Park, a Boys and Girls Club. Just wanted to share that comment.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
funny. I drove by that the other day too. Yeah.
So, as we move forward, first of all, if you have any other comments or any other concerns, feel free. Josh, would you like for us to provide your email address?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, Jillian at Jefferson East, you know, hit me on an email, or hit sunderwood@jeffersoneast.org. Honestly, if you email Sabrina, she'll come and harass me. So it's honestly a better
Yes.
way. So sunderwood@jeffersoneast.org. And then of course we'll have the next one here as well too. Why don't we move on to announcements if we could?
Okay. Okay, Fifth Precinct Comstat meeting is being held tomorrow from 1 to 2:30 at Hope Community Church. It's also for those of you who attend online. We definitely want to get more stakeholders and more property managers and property owners involved. This is very, very important. A great time for you to connect directly with your precinct commander, your precinct neighborhood police officers, and just, other community members as we learn, about crime trends and the good, sometimes the ugly and not so good. This is a very private time, a very intimate time, and a great time to connect. So we do encourage you all to get involved. And you can give me a call at 313-261-2947. If you have any questions, there is a document that you must fill out first before you can attend, but come on down, we'll be there tomorrow. Oh, sorry. And then our seventh precinct. I don't have the date right. I thought it was on here, but it is coming up, not this Friday, but next Friday in August, 11 to 12 p.m. 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Sorry. Feel free to give me a call. Like I said, 313-261-2947. Check back on our Facebook page, Instagram, X, LinkedIn. All of this information will be available for you to tune in. Josh, I would love for you to share a little
Yeah,
bit
thank you,
about
everyone.
progress.
So a lot of great stuff here on the Marlboros. I've mentioned this. Did I mention this last meeting? I don't remember. We finally closed on the permanent financing on the Marlboro apartments with the Detroit Housing for the Future Fund, securing a low interest rate. So we got the building financed, closed out. So this project is actually officially done. I'll be honest, this project almost killed us. We thought it was going to be a $5 million project, ballooned to about $7 million. But we got it done. So hats off to the team at Jefferson East. The South Building 1031 is 100% leased up. We actually have 3 bedrooms left in the 910 building. And we are going to be offering a rental incentive, I believe, starting next week. So we'll get that publicized to sort of fill up those last few units on floors 2 and 3 in 910 Marlboro. So we'll look for that, but we're getting pretty close to being fully leased up on these buildings. So we'll keep plunking away on those.
All right, Josh, I'll let you do the honors of
Well, I
Mrs.
mentioned Miss Paul earlier, Patricia Paul, one of your neighbors who lives up the way in Morningside. We were able to bring her on board as a full-time staff member, actually a part-time staff member. She'll be manning the front desk at the Neighborhood Resource Hub on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, helping you navigate different resources, helping intake people for the various home repair programs, qualify for those programs, and stuff too. So pop in and see Miss Paul at the Neighborhood Resource Hub on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So very pleased to be able to add her to the staff. And we have 2 open positions right now. We have a position for a part-time grants and ops support coordinator. This position will report directly to our chief financial officer and help with accounts receivable, accounts payable, grant reporting. I think it's about a 25 hour a week position. You can see more information on the position at jeffersoneast.org/careers. John, thank you for that. Everyone take a look at the Cider social event that's coming up in the chat. We also have our community tech consultant that is still open. We had actually, for those of you that may have applied, I apologize. We slowed the hiring process down a little bit because we wanted our new senior manager of resilient neighborhoods. This individual will start on September 2nd. And then we'll kind of dive into the current applications, but there's still time to get your application in. This is a full-time position providing community tech services to small businesses. So we'd love to have you join our team. So go to careers.org. We're probably going to have a 3rd position open up shortly, which will be our housing counselor or our senior manager of resilient homes. So stay tuned for that, and we'll publicize that when that position goes live. This would be an individual looking for a HUD certified housing counselor. So if you know people in your network that have housing counseling, home buyer education, experience, financial literacy, education experience. Keep an eye out for that because we'll hopefully be posting that within the next week or so as well too. So we'll have 3 open positions we'll be looking to fill. And then in about a week or so, we'll be able to announce our new senior manager of resilient neighborhoods. And then, of course, you're not done with us yet. We're going to have another one of these November 15th, 10 days after my 50th birthday. So we're looking forward to that. Not sure of the topic. We've gotten some grant support to look at some climate modeling for Jefferson Chalmers and other neighborhoods. We'll have some more information about those events that'll be going on at the top of the year with our friends at the University of Michigan. Get into John's questions about lake levels and flooding and shoreline issues, as well as sewer backups to extreme precipitation events. And then also we are going to be kicking off our disaster preparedness planning with the city of Detroit and Wayne County. So we'll have more information about that in November, as well as kind of outline what our budget's looking like for the next year and program areas. And we'll have some more updates on the Gateway project. Seeing a lot of great updates there from John in the chat. And hats off to Sabrina Underwood. She wrestled the new website to the ground. Go over to the new jeffersoneast.org. That can link you into a range of resources. That being said, I don't know, John, Rhonda, I see your hands raised. Any last comments to take us out? I don't know if we can get him access one last time here. Hey, John, we can hear you, brother.
So, yeah, we've been funded by Green Living Science to do stuff specifically in Maharris Gentry Park. And we have also been partnering with our community partners like Mike Reed from the Detroit Zoo. And we had Michigan Tech University down in July. And they did a science day with the kids, and it was really cool. They did show the kids how to do drone operating and what they can use it for. And then last weekend, our Backyard Detroit had their block party at Maharris Gentry Park, and it was a really great success. We had African drumline down there. We had hustle. We had kayaking in the pond. All kinds of great things. A lot of people. So I'm focused on the 4 parks, and I'll try to keep you more communication with what we're doing. So
please do, John, and thank you for all that you do, and thank you to everyone. I mean, one of the things I love just working in the East Jefferson corridor and all the friends in all the different neighborhoods and Jeff Chalmers is just the strong civic commitment and everything that does everything that you do to support our neighborhoods and our most vulnerable residents. So hat tip to everyone for doing the right thing in these challenging times. So that being said, Sabrina, thank you again for a wonderful event. Hats off to you. Andrea, thank you for joining us. Hopefully you got some good feedback on that. You know, I'll look forward to seeing everyone at Antidote when they open up on the 8th. And we'll keep you posted on any special events that are going to be happening between then and everything. But it is just great to see everybody, and thank you for taking part of a beautiful August evening. So enjoy the rest of your August. Enjoy your Labor Day. Remember those that labor as we close out the summer here and get the kids back to school. So that's all I got, Miss Underwood.
Yep. Have a good evening, everybody. We will talk with you soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.